Welcome to Career Console, your podcast destination for navigating your career journey. We will talk about how to plan and manage your career, and you can benefit from the real life experience of professionals. Wherever you are in your career journey, this show will help you move forward with confidence. I am Paddy, and I am joined by my co host Praveen, and each of us has more than 20 years of experience working across industries, functions, and geographies. Today, we will talk about mid career switches. Having a career is not the same as having a job. A job is simply any activity that provides you an income, whereas a career is a progression of responsibilities as time passes. It means that over time, you are learning and growing in your chosen occupation or profession, and as a result, you are adding more value to your organization or to your customers, which also reflects in your rising incomes. Career is also a mindset. For example, a software programmer who continuously gets better at his or her work and stays up to date with new technologies and developments is building a career, whereas a programmer who does not invest in his or her learning or growth is basically viewing it as a job.
Let's examine what does a career switch mean. Let's assume an average person starts working at the age of 25 and has a formal career till he or she turns 60, which is approximately about 35 years of working. I define the first 10 years as early career, the next 10 as mid career, and the last 15 as late career. So, broadly, anyone who has a work experience of 10 to 20 years, I would call them to be in mid career. Coming to career switches, first let's make a distinction between a career switch and a job switch. If you change your employer, but your basic role and your function remains the same, I would call that just as a job switch and not a career switch. A career switch is where there is a complete change in your role or your function. If there is a big change that is required in your behavioral characteristics or skill set, that is what I would call as a career switch. Broadly, there are three kinds of career switches. One, change in roles. Say, for example, somebody moving from engineering to sales or operations to sales. I would call that as a career switch. Second is change in domain or industry. Let's say you're moving from a telco to manufacturing, or from, let's say, software industry to healthcare. That can also be called as a career switch. The third is if you're switching across companies which have very different DNA. Let's say you're switching from an MNC to a startup, which a lot of people are doing these days. I would call that as a career switch.
So, why do professionals make mid career switches? There are several reasons, but here are the most common ones. One, the opportunity to earn more money or have continued growth is a strong incentive for people to switch careers. When professionals feel their current career won't allow them to grow beyond a certain point, they will look for other opportunities in other industries or organizations. Two, people also switch careers to follow their interests and passion. We see many professionals wanting to switch to consulting or investment banking because they feel it will intellectually challenge and satisfy them in ways their current careers are not able to. A third reason that we now see frequently is that people want to slow down so they can create more time for personal interests or family. In these cases, people are moving away from high performance careers like management consulting into corporate roles that provide more predictability in work timings and schedules. And fourth, some people have to switch careers because they don't have a choice. Their current careers are redundant or obsolete due to technological advancements. The banking industry is a good example where many customer-facing roles that were performed by people, such as a bank teller, are now being replaced by technology. Whatever be the motivation, these mid-career switches can be a challenging exercise, and I can think of three major reasons. One, usually mid-career professionals are in their 30s and have responsibilities towards their family, be it their spouse and kids or parents. Most of them would also have financial commitments such as loans and EMIs. And switching careers with these responsibilities can feel like a risk, and in some cases, it is actually a risk. Two, this is challenging because you have to let go of a career where you are well established and successful. Your current skills may not be transferable to your new career, and you very likely have to start from scratch. Some of us can find it hard to let go of our current accomplishments and hard earned positions and start afresh. Three is the fear of failure, which can often increase with age and experience because there is more to lose. Several mid career professionals don't even want to change a job, let alone a career, because they are very comfortable in their present setup and don't want to take a risk.
So in the next section, let's look at what would you need for a successful career switch. The first step is really to evaluate whether you need to do a career switch. As Paddy mentioned, a career switch can be hard, especially mid-career. But still, it is important that you reflect and evaluate it, where you are heading in your life and career, and ask yourself whether a switch makes sense. Evaluate whether your industry is changing and whether it is sustainable in the long run. Take the case of telcos in India. At the turn of the last decade, there were 8 to 10 mobile service providers in India. By the end of the decade, it was clear that the sector is reaching a saturation point, and the number of mobile service providers had shrunk to just 3, actually 4 if you include the government sector as well. It is clear that most people working in that sector may have to move to other sectors for continued employment. Second is to think about your career or a job that you're extremely passionate about. And you're so passionate about it that even if you fail, you're ready to accept the failure. I have seen people who want to contribute to the social sector or teaching towards the end of their career, and they've realized that that is their passion. If you feel that way, you may want to evaluate a career shift.
Once you have evaluated and decided to make the switch, here are some things you can do to make it successful. 1. You're likely to be successful if you're switching careers because you want something and not because you want to avoid your present career. 2. When switching careers, get into the day one mindset again. Be ready to learn every day. Leave your ego at home, as you might have to learn from people younger to you and sometimes even report to them. You might even have to accept a pay cut, but focus on the longer term benefits of the switch. 3. Do plenty of research on your new role or industry. Talk to people in that industry and find a mentor to support your transition. Be aware of the context and dynamics of the new industry or organization so that you can adapt to those changes. 4. Commit to your new career or your new role 100% and don't be afraid to fail. Persist till you succeed. 5. Some say have a plan B in place in case your career switch doesn't work. Others say don't have a plan B, so you have no choice but to make plan A work. There's no right answer here. Be honest about your own willingness and ability to deal with the risks and plan accordingly. If possible, switching careers within your current organization is a great option. because it increases your chances of success for a couple of reasons. Within the same organization, you can usually transfer your credibility and your knowledge of your business and customers to the new role, even if it is in an entirely new domain. So you don't lose out on that hard earned brand. Even organizations prefer to have someone from the inside set up and head their new teams and businesses rather than hire someone from outside because it reduces their risk. So if you're able to identify opportunities within your current organization, this is a win-win for both you and your organization. But if you're trying to convince a new employer, you need to establish your credibility, and here are some ideas. Take on small projects in your chosen career, either within your current role or outside, because this demonstrates your seriousness and commitment. Identify and articulate your transferable skills. What qualities do you have today that will be beneficial in your new role? Most mid-career professionals have some level of people and project management responsibilities, and these are often transferable to a variety of roles. When talking to potential employers, be enthusiastic. Even if you have doubts in your own mind, don't let them show. And finally, build a network. Meet people in your desired industry or organization. LinkedIn is a great resource to make these connections, and most people are happy to chat about their industry and provide advice if you don't bombard them with your resume right away.
So now you have changed your careers. How do you make it stick? Changing careers is tough, even post the shift, because now you need to learn new skills. You're out of your comfort zone. I have seen that people who have made the change successfully are very tenacious and persistent. They have not switched back to the earlier roles at the slightest hint of trouble. In your new career, try and develop a trusted relationship with your manager and your colleagues. Proactively seek feedback on how you can be better at your job. Remember, this is a new career and not just a new job. If you can find a mentor with whom you can discuss the challenges you're facing, it can help as well. One of the questions that often get asked is whether an MBA or a certification can help in switching careers. I have personally done an MBA and have moved from a technical role to a more business related role. Paddy, my co-host, has moved from HR to tax consulting post his MBA. So in some ways, I would say doing an MBA might help. But I would still urge you to exercise caution. Usually, changing careers after an MBA works a little earlier in your career, say up until 10 years of experience. Later on in your career, a shift becomes more difficult just because you have done an MBA. You would have to plan the shift first, find the target industry and the role, and figure out how the placement program of your target MBA aligns with that or not. In the case of other certifications, also I would again be very careful. You may want to do your research very thoroughly on the certifications. Often, certifications is a good addition if you're already in the industry. For example, just because you get a PMP certification, you may not be able to switch to a program management position. But it's a good value addition if you're already a program manager. Talk to people who have done some of these certifications and check their experience in switching the careers before jumping and finishing any certifications. So in conclusion, in the new VUCA world, that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, where newer technologies such as AI are getting more powerful, many industries would go redundant and newer industries may take their place. The old norm of one person sticking to one career for their entire life is fast becoming a passé. So be open for a career switch at any stage of your career. Best of luck and have a great career ahead. Thank you for listening to our show. We wish you all the very best in your career journey. Please stay tuned for our next episodes. This is Paddy and Praveen signing off from Career Console.